What is up, you guys? Welcome back to my channel. Today we are doing the finale of sewing the makeup brush holder bag, and we're just going to go ahead and jump right in. Picking up from where we were last time, we are going to be installing the magnetic hardware in our little brush holder bag. So first things first, we want to go ahead and make sure that we take out all of the brushes and remove the back side from our little brush holder. And what we need to do is we basically need to come in here and see how far we're rolling over the brush holder, so where these edges need to meet. And I did find when I was doing this in both the brush holders, the amount that I folded it over in the beginning was not the same amount that I wanted in the end. So you'll see me kind of come through here back and forth and put brushes in the brush holder and kind of close the little brush holder up, because it does make a difference when you have that bulk on the inside of it. So what I'm basically doing is I'm going to come through here and just stick a few brushes on the inside. And since we're tailoring this to our brushes, you just want to make sure that you have enough room on the inside so the brushes don't get too squished. So we'll go ahead and put this little flap down, and I only stuck a few brushes in here just to kind of gauge it and see how far closed we need to go. And I did the same thing on the other brush holder that I was making at the same time. Now, as you can see here, with a few brushes in it, if I scooch it up that far, I think it's a little bit too much. So I'll come through and I'll open it up a little bit later, but what I do is I'm going to grab a marker and I'm actually going to draw a line on the foam just to kind of show where it's going to be. And then right here I'm also going to mark out where I want to put the magnets. And so I'm going to go ahead and mark these out. I'm actually going to go in and change this a little bit later. Like I had said in the previous video, I am actually showing you guys everything in the raw. Like, I've never made this before. This is the first time, first attempt. This is me kind of whittling through design ideas and just kind of building and letting you see as I build and make the mistakes. So there was a few things that I did change. Now you'll see me come through here, and I'm actually going to put the magnets in at 3 inches, and you can see I almost nailed the 3-inch mark on both of those circles, but no, I've got to change it. So then I'm going to go ahead and transfer these marks to the back side of the little brush holder as well. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take on the back side of these magnets. They come in, I think, a 2-piece per side. So what you'll have is the magnet side, and then they'll have the back side of it, which is kind of like a washer. And what you'll do is you'll poke the prongs through the fabric and then put the washer on, and that's what'll hold it in place without making it tear through your fabric. So again, you'll see me coming through here, and I'm just kind of transferring that line over by probably about 1/2 to 3/4 of an inch, so that way my brush holder is not too scrunched up, and that the magnet's on the outside edges of the brush holder. And again, I'm going to go ahead and remove all the brushes one more time. Well, no, probably not one more. Probably there'll be a few more. Like I said, always double check and double check. So now what I'm going to do is I want to kind of see roughly where I want this magnet to sit. So I'm going to take the washer and I'm going to place it on the 3-inch mark, and then I'm going to take my Sharpie again, and there's 2 little holes on the outside of this washer, and like slits. And that's what I'm going to transfer onto the brush holder. Now, I know this might scare the crap out of you guys, but I've been working with X-Acto knives and razor blades for a very long time, and I trust my judgment when I'm using them. You might want to put this down on a table if you do. I'm kind of that weird seamstress that is really okay with sharp objects. I don't know if this is exactly practicing safe cutting, but like I said before, I live life on the edge. And I'm just basically taking my X-Acto knife and I'm poking through to make holes for those little slits. And again, I'm the kind of seamstress that will use a razor blade to pull out stitching in fabric as opposed to using the seam ripper, which most people use. And just in the industry, I mean, it's kind of something that we do in the industry, and I don't know, it's what works for me, but you got to do what works for you and what you feel safe with. So do practice your safety while you're building whatever you're building. So I'm going to take the back end of my X-Acto knife, and I do come through here a little bit later, and I'm sorry I did not film it, but I'll take a little hammer and I will just tap the back of that to make sure that it's hammered down taut to the fabric to reduce a little bulk. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to install this other magnet the same way. Everything's two times. So now that we got those installed, I'm actually going to fold it over now that I have the magnets in there and kind of look, and you'll see that I still don't like the positioning of where the other ones are going to be. So I'm going to once again move that line over probably about another inch. And I'll turn this over so you can be able to see, you know, how far out I marked them. And you can see I brought that in quite a bit. I wanted it on that outside edge because these magnets, while I thought it was a good time or a good idea at the time, I kind of see why people have done ties on these type of bags before. But at the same token, this is something that's a little bit different. And again, it's something I thought of just randomly and was like, yeah, that'll be fun. Let's try that. So we're going to go ahead and just take the washers and make our little tick marks on the outside of the bag again. And if you wanted to change the different type of closure that you're using on the bag, I mean, you can use anything that you want. It doesn't have to be magnets. It doesn't have to be ties. I mean, you could even use a zipper if you wanted to. So just get creative when you're making your bags. And we're going to go ahead and punch through these little holes so we can install the magnets. And just be careful while you're poking through your fabric. This is quite a bit of fabric to go through because you're going through a cotton, a vinyl, and then you're also going through your interfacing. And this outside edge, I did realize we have to actually attach the outside of the fabric before we push the magnets in there. So, and what it's going to look like is like this. So you'll have that magnet on the outside. And I'm just going to show you real quick here. So the magnets will be on the outside, so it'll snap together like so. And I think that looks pretty good. I'm really satisfied with how this little brush holder is coming out. Okay, so next is we have to add the backing of the fabric to the back of the actual brush holder. Now, I'm going to really stress this to you guys again. If I were to remake this item, which I do have plans on remaking it in the future, I would put an interfacing on the back of that vinyl. Now, the reason why is because this is a pretty heavy duty little brush holder to begin with, but that back fabric was a little bit too flimsy, and you'll see after I'm attaching it to the base right here. I'll flip it around to the back and you can see on the back side it's not as flat or as taut as I'd want it to be. And also when I'm going in and I'm putting the binding on it right now, but you'll actually see that these little brads on the back of here kind of show through a little bit too much, which I didn't care for. Now, I do have two different ways that I do the binding. I'm putting the right side on the inside of the bag. I'm sorry, the right side of the bias tape on the inside of the bag. And I'm hand cranking just to make sure that I don't hit my magnet. You want to be very careful. And you'll see right here, I left about 1 inch of my bias tape not attached to the fabric because we're actually going to come around and fold it over. Now on the other bag, which is in the top left-hand corner, I measured out the bias tape perfectly around the little bag holder, or I'm sorry, the little brush holder, and I just made the bias tape one consecutive circle that I'm going to attach to it the same way that I'm showing you in the main photo, or video. And I do use my stiletto a lot in sewing big stuff like this, just because that point can get in there, and I would rather the machine run over that point than my finger, because I have sewn through my finger before and it kind of sucks. So. So coming around your corners very carefully, and you can see on the top left hand corner the bias tape went on perfectly because I measured it out properly. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut 1 inch extra over, so it's overlapping. Instead of cutting a perfect bias tape, they're actually going to be a folded over, overlapped bias tape. I really hope that makes sense. And I gotta tell you guys, I know I need a camera guy because there's a lot of angles in shooting that I can't get, and I don't realize till I come through and edit my videos, so I'm very sorry. I am working on getting a camera guy. So we're going to top stitch twice over this edge, just like so. And we're going to go ahead and take our little wonder clips, and what we're going to do is we're going to roll over one time. It's like a double rolled bias tape. And we're going to clip with a flat end toward the top. And that's so your bias tape doesn't shift. And make sure you do it the full perimeter around, making sure that you're folding your edges over nice and even. And I'm not kidding, this part right here, when I was going through and editing the video, to do the bias tape around the outside probably took me, I'm gonna say right around 25-30 minutes, just because working with pleather can be a task. But again, like I said before, I absolutely love pleather, so you gotta take the good with the bad. So now we're gonna go ahead and add the other brads to the other side, which means we gotta get our little stabby poking X-Acto blade, and we already have the holes in there. I'm just poking through that hole to poke through the back side of the red. And then we're going to go ahead and add the brads in. And I would have shown you, but my camera decided to die, and I did not realize until I went through with the editing process that it didn't pick it up. So I'm going to show you here. I just added these, the other side of the magnet to the outside of the bag, same way that I showed you guys before. Now you see these little edges on the little round pokey edges on the opposite side. That's why I would interface the outside of the red. Now on the inside, you're going to have these raw brads, and I don't like that, and I didn't know how I could change that. So what I'm going to do is I basically took a quarter and I cut out 2 black pieces of fabric, and I thought the black would be better hidden on this bag. And I'm just going to take some thick 2P10, and I'm just going to glue these over the top of the back of those brads. And I mean, you can figure, I mean, if you figure out a different way to cover these brads up that would be better, then I mean, I would love to hear it in the comment section below. But for the sake of this video, and that's just kind of the first thing that came to my head. So I think it doesn't look that bad. But like I said again, if I were to remake these, there are quite a few different changes that I would make. And this little bag turned out so cute. I already have a couple friends that definitely want them for their purses. And your brushes are protected from both sides, so your brush will not fall out of its little holders. So another thing I wanted to show you guys real quick is I also have this makeup bag. This is one I've used this for years, and this thing has still stayed together. And I absolutely love it. So you can see that there's plenty of room on the inside of here, and I'm just going to go ahead and do kind of like a stress test where I throw everything in the makeup bag that I have sitting right next to me, and we're going to close that bad boy up. Now if you are interested in these makeup bags, definitely let me know in the comment section below. I also do sell them in my Etsy shop. This is my smaller makeup bag, which are great for dropping on the inside of your purse for daily makeup that you take with you, and you can double stack them this way. Anyway, I hope you guys had fun with this series and that you learned something new from me, and that you guys will try something new, whether it's perfect the first time around or if it's something that you're constantly having to work at. Always try something new and push yourself to the limit. I totally want to hear from you guys. What would you like to see next? Leave it in the comment section below. And as always, don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel. Follow me on all other social media, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye.